You think you know what's coming? You don't have a clue. You don't have a clue.
It's a phenomenon known as Deja Vu. It's a phenomenon known as Deja Vu.
Hello, welcome to Cynic Critique, where we get real with cult films. I'm your host Brian, and I'm here with my brother and co-host, my bro-host, Thomas.
Hello.
This week we're looking at some more cult favourite sci-fi with 2000's Frequency, 2006's Deja Vu, and 2011's Source Code.
Intro to Frequency.
Mm-hmm.
It's an accidental cross-time radio link connects father and son across 30 years. The son tries to save his father's life, but then must fix the consequences.
W2QYV.
This is Frank Sullivan.
Hello? What'd you say your name was?
Frank Sullivan.
Is this some kind of joke?
It's directed by Gregory Hoblit, who did Primal Fear, Fallen, Arts, War, and Fracture. It's written by Tommy Emmerich, who doesn't really write much else, he just produces. And the cast is Dennis Quaid, he's the father in the past as Frank Sullivan. Jim Caviezel, he's the NYPD cop in the present, and then the son, John Sullivan. Elizabeth Mitchell plays Frank Sullivan's wife, Julia Sullivan. Andrew Bauer is Satch Dillon, and then Noah Emmerich is Gordo Hirsch, but the actor's also the brother of the writer. I think that's it for cast. So, unless that's the one I'm missing.
Sean Doyle down as Jack Shepherd.
Oh,
I don't know, because I couldn't find it on the trivia, and I never went to the Wikipedia page, maybe I should have. You know if the two Emmerichs involved in this are related to Roland Emmerich?
it never said anything about that.
Oh,
It just said that they're brothers.
Roland Emmerich's the guy that did, like, Stargate, Independence Day,
Yeah.
and then some horrible-looking films in the 2000s that I've not really watched. Like, is it 2012? Moonfall.
Yeah, all those sort of films.
I had quite a bit of fun with this one.
Yeah.
But I like the cast. Quaid and Caviezel, I thought pretty well cast as father and son.
Oh, yeah.
There's certain parts where when it cuts, it doesn't tell you which timeline you're in the night. As you're looking from the actor from behind, I was thinking it was still the other one.
I repeat saying, like, hang on.
Yeah. One thing I did find interesting about this is they have Professor Brian Greene appear as himself on the TV. He's a scientist, and he's a scientist in the film. He's actually the film's physics consultant.
Yeah.
It is on the TV in both timelines doing an interview. So that puts him on the TV in the, was it 99? The film's actually set in the present.
Yeah, 99.
Yeah,
and
69.
yeah.
And he appears on the interview in 69 where they've made him look younger. But I found it funny because the professor was born in 63. So even though he's playing himself, it has to be a fictional version of himself because otherwise he would have been 6 years old in that interview.
Yeah. I thought it was great. Mainly because he consulted on the film.
Yeah, I quite like how when Dennis Quaid resolves something in his timeline, it instantly happens in Caviezel's timeline.
Yeah.
Which some parts are quite fun to see, and other parts it's just like, I don't think it would work like this. Because if it's happening then I think Caviezel's timeline should just instantly change and him not have a clue exactly what's happened.
Yeah, but for some reason he has memories for a while, and then all the other memories seem to sink
Yeah, he
in.
ends up with like 2 timeline memories, doesn't he?
Yeah. No one else seems to have that problem. Everyone else just seems to remember that one timeline, but there's Caviezel there, like, hang on, I remember several things.
I'm assuming it's because he's part of the catalyst changing the time that he can remember.
It's the only reason. You've just got to accept it as that's...
But it's the physical stuff that changes. Like, he sees it getting etched into his desk because it's happening in the past. And it's happening in real time for him as well. And it's like, should the numbers just not have appeared there? And he's like, hey, when did these get here? They weren't there in my original memory of this desk.
Yeah.
Just stuff like that. That kind of bugs me a little because it didn't feel like it was proper time-related stuff. So it makes me really want to question Brian Greene's theory.
I just think it's just more visual interesting things to do as a film, I think, and as it is.
Yeah,
I don't know.
maybe easier for the audience to follow
Yeah,
as well. I
like
don't
just
know.
so they know what's changed and what hasn't.
Yeah.
I guess.
It's a really decent thriller, to be honest, because the sci-fi in it's more in the background.
Yeah,
You just accept that there's two timelines that are interwoven and they communicate through a ham radio.
yeah,
That's pretty cool. There was a TV show adaptation of this
yeah.
for about 8 years ago now, would it be?
2016.
Almost 8 years ago, because it would have been a September or mid-season show, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I don't think it managed a full season.
I don't know. I can't remember. Toby Emmerich was a producer on it.
Oh, right, okay.
And he was the writer of this. So.
I think we watched about half of it when it was airing. It was okay, but I found it a little tedious. It's like they can't keep dragging this out.
Yeah.
But then again, after watching the movie, because this is my first time watching this film, if I'd have watched the movie sooner, then the TV series might not have felt so rushed.
Yeah.
Because there's quite a lot condensed into this, what was it, a 2-hour film?
Just under 2 hours. It's
So
an hour 58.
it goes by pretty quick as well. It doesn't feel long.
Enjoyable film.
There's some good bits of trivia in it. Him and his dad connect over the ham radio by discussing baseball. Is something that he grew up watching as a kid, so he knew his dad was there, so he could like prove facts to know that he knows the future kind of thing. But apparently all the baseball stats and details given are 100% accurate to the time, which is pretty good going, I would say. I'm not really a sports person, but I'd say that's a great attention to detail.
Yeah. Makes it seem more set
Yeah.
in reality, I guess.
But going to baseball, I don't know if you saw this, but the New York Mets and the Cincinnati Reds, they played wearing their 69 uniforms to help promote the film in 2000.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. It's quite a unique way to promote a film, isn't it? Wearing their old uniforms.
Yeah. Also had real firefighters in the warehouse scene.
Oh, were they real firefighters?
Yeah. It's only Dennis Quaid that were a real firefighter in the scene.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
There's another thing with the firefighters, because the Sullivan's address is House 343, and 1 year after this movie was released, it was the 9/11 incident,
Yeah.
and it was the 343 firefighters that sadly died in the Twin Towers World Trade Center incident of 9/11. But I just thought that was quite a odd coincidence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The original director who was tied to this was Rennie Harlin.
Okay.
You don't know?
I
He
don't
did.
know that.
You should know who that is. He did Die Hard 2 and Cliffhanger.
I like Cliffhanger,
I know. But
but he did
Die-
Fort Fairlane.
Yes, I was going to say. So the same year as Die Hard 2, he did Adventure of the Ford Fairlane, which is a great film.
Yeah, it is.
But obviously doing Cliffhanger, he had worked with Stallone.
Yeah, I thought Stallone was attached to this at some point.
Yeah. That's where Rennie Harlin was attached to this. For some reason, Stallone was going to be the main character.
Yeah, in fact,
one.
there was a good number of action people attached to this throughout its
Yeah, I saw that.
phases and so on.
I didn't write all these down.
I didn't, but I'm pretty sure Mel Gibson was there.
Kurt Russell.
Yeah, Bruce Willis.
Yeah, Richard Gere, I
I
think.
just found the list now, actually. Mel
Yeah.
Gibson, Sylvester Stallone, Harrison Ford, Michael Keaton, Bruce Willis, Kurt Russell, Kevin Costner, Patrick Swayze, Ed Harris, Bill Paxton, Tom Hanks, Michael Biehn, Alec Baldwin, Kevin Bacon, John Travolta, Gary Sinise, Tommy Lee Jones, and Jeff Bridges were all considered to play Frank.
Pretty much a who's who for that.
Yeah. Stallone, I think, really stands out as being more of a big action guy, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of these would have been as good as Dennis Quaid.
No.
I don't know if it's because I haven't seen many Dennis Quaid films, but a lot of these actors are kind of like larger than life.
Yeah, I
Dennis
think.
Quaid brings a more human feel to it.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think they went with the right choices because these just feel more like real people. I think some of those would have took you out of that.
I mean, Tom
think
Hanks.
Tom Hanks doesn't. I would say he doesn't really fit this film.
He's done a lot of films of a lot of
Okay.
genre.
But his best one is Big.
Sure.
I will mention the guy who did the score on this because it's Michael Kamen. And he did Lethal Weapon 1 to 4. He did Die Hard 1 to 3. He did
Yeah.
The Highlander, and he did the X-Men movie the same year.
I thought I'd made a note about the music on this, but I apparently have not.
I just wrote Michael Kamen and remembered everything else.
But one fact I did like about this, actually, that I did see while we were watching it was that both Dennis Quaid and Jim Caviezel were both left-handed. I think that's a nice touch. Because normally for somebody to be left-handed, a parent has to be left-handed.
Really like this one as a thriller. I think this was probably the better one as an outright thriller. But maybe it's 'cause it's the first time I'd watched it as well, so I didn't really know the
Well,
story.
There's a good serial killer case wrapped into it, and I love a good serial killer story.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the serial killer gets dubbed.
Is it The Nightingale?
That's it, the Nightingale, because I think it was to do with some nurses' bodies turning up, wasn't it?
Yeah.
it starts and there's only like 3 victims,
Yeah.
and then it jumps to 10, and he's now one of the victims. And then, Dad, you have to save my mum.
Yeah.
Then he puts him on this like strange little, and he's like, I'm not a cop, I don't know how to do this, 'cause he's just a firefighter, which was a change they made for the series, actually. They had the child in the future, now a woman, and she was still a cop, but the parent was also a cop in that version.
Yeah. Her father was a cop.
Yeah. From watching this, a lot of it, I was like, oh yeah, I kind of remember that in the series,
Yeah.
but I don't know how much of it translates and keeps the same.
I'm not sure. I don't remember much of the series, but I remembered enough of it to just think like, oh, it did some of the movie beats quite well.
Yeah. Andre Braugher, is it?
Yeah.
I think it was last year when he died, but people know him as Captain Holt from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah.
But he plays a really good part in this, I thought. He plays a cop that's one of his dad's friends that he drinks with or something, and then becomes the mentor to John, which is Jim Caviezel's character in the present.
Yeah.
So, any other thoughts you want to share about this? And if not, we'll move on to Deja Vu.
I'll just say it's worth a watch if you really enjoy sci-fi thrillers.
I'd say it's worth a watch even if you don't enjoy the sci-fi. Just enjoy thrillers. I think you'll get quite invested in this one. It's like I said, it's not sci-fi heavy, is it? It's just an easy watch, I would say.
Yeah.
You don't have to do a lot of thinking to think, how does that correlate? Because it's happening at the same time.
Yeah, it does explain everything well enough. So it's not, like I said, if you just enjoy thrillers, this is probably a good gateway into some good sci-fi, I suppose.
Yeah, probably. And then into the next 2 we talk about, I guess.
Yeah.
Shall I introduce the next one?
Deja Vu, 2006.
Yeah. I said, shall I? Well, okay, take my guess. 2006 is Deja Vu, directed by Tony Scott, written by Bill Maselli and Terry Rossio.
This is not surveillance. This is the actual past.
Yes.
They found a way to fold space back onto itself.
Remember that blackout we had a few years back?
Half the Northeast, you're saying you guys?
50 million homes?
My bad.
The synopsis is, after a ferry is bombed in New Orleans, an ATF agent joins a unique investigation using experimental surveillance technology to find the bomber, but soon finds himself becoming obsessed with one of the victims. It stars Denzel Washington as Doug Carlin, Paula Patton as Claire. I can't read my writing.
Kusheva.
Thank you, Claire Kusheva. Val Kilmer as Agent Priswara.
How do you pronounce that one, but you couldn't even pronounce the other?
I think I've spelt it out phonetically. Jim Caviezel as Carol Ostand. Yeah, Jim Caviezel's in this one. Adam Goldberg as Danny, or is it? No, Denny, sorry. Eldon Henson as Gunners. Bruce Greenwood as Jack McCready. Elle Fanning plays a little part. She's called Abby. I think she's just the girl on the ferry. This is before everyone will really recognise her, which this makes this basically Denzel's probably the first actor to probably work with both the Fanning sisters, because he did
And on Fire with
Dakota.
No.
And Nolan North is a voice of the ex-fiancée here on the phone at one point, and I just had to mention that because Nolan North, he's a famous voice actor, but he does act as well, and he's mostly known for being Nathan Drake in the video game series. So, what do you want to say on this one?
The writer, Bill Maselli, he started the script in 97. I just thought that was quite interesting because then Terry Rossio it seems like he might have took over and helped structure it, and he's wrote a lot. Most recently, the Godzilla versus Kong.
Oh yeah, and he did the 98 Godzilla.
Yeah.
But then he comes back for the last 2 Godzilla Kong crossover things.
Yeah, which I thought was quite interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's done quite a bit. He did the Mask of Zorro, Legend of Zorro with Antonio Banderas as well.
Yep. Yeah, I remember reading it.
Yeah. So yeah, he's wrote quite a few big hits, which I was quite surprised by. And Tony Scott, everyone knows Tony Scott if they know Phil.
Tony Scott, brother of Ridley Scott.
Yeah.
Tony Scott, famous for Top Gun. He did Tarantino's True Romance in the early 90s.
Yeah.
He was a really good director, to be honest. Yeah, Man on Fire. Denzel again.
Yeah.
And the previous director, I think it was, had done another Denzel movie as well, and that was to do with like a 30-year span, because he did
Fallen.
Yeah. I don't know much about that film, to be honest.
Neither do I. I haven't seen it, but it sounds really good.
What I like about this is it stars 2 Batman actors. Val Kilmer was Batman in Batman Forever. Bruce Greenwood has voiced Batman in a few animated projects.
Yeah.
Eldon Henson, people will know from a film we'll be covering next week,
The Butterfly
Effect. And he's also Foggy Nelson in the Daredevil series. And I think he's in the next film.
He came up on one of our earlier
Was it?
films. Yeah.
Okay, my bad.
It was Dumb and Dumberer.
Yeah. He's got a really small part in that, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this film. I remember going to see this in the cinemas, and I really liked it then, and I bought the DVD when it came out. Watched it a few times then, but I probably haven't watched it in about a decade. I feel like I watched it more recent. I don't know. That's the strangest thing about Deja Vu.
I think it'd be better if you kept forgetting you'd seen the film in general and you're going, I think I know this one.
Yeah, this is something I find weird. Frequency was a 15, a certificate 15.
Yeah.
And this is a certificate 12.
Yeah.
And I can't really figure out why, especially when in this one we're allowed to see somebody smoking, which is, you'll never see that in a 12 certificate now. This might be the last time you saw somebody smoking in a certificate 12 movie. I don't know.
I feel I have to look that up, but I really don't want to.
I'm curious to know, so it might be worth looking up for a future and getting back to the people listening.
We'll cover that for whatever it was.
What, the last one where somebody smoked in a certificate 12?
X-Men Origins Wolverine, Hugh Jackman smokes cigars.
Oh, he does, doesn't he? Oh, could that be it? Could that be the last time?
Everyone's like, you can't smoke, you don't want to be like Wolverine. We're not all like him, we don't all heal.
Nah, to go back to this film, I really enjoyed this. Like, I really like Denzel Washington's character in it as the ATF agent. He doesn't see the ferry explode, does he? He's there to, like, investigate it, and then I can't think how it came about, but Val Kilmer, is he FBI? He is, isn't he?
Yeah.
He decides that they should recruit him into this little covert project to do with Snow White, which is the name of this certain satellite thing they have, where it allows them to look 4 days and 6 hours into the past. They cannot rewind any further, and they cannot bring it forward. It is always that, but they can record the footage that they're seeing.
Yeah.
But it's only for a certain vicinity of New Orleans.
Yeah.
That's something that's always fascinated me with this film, that idea of this time travel, in a way, locked into just looking at this certain thing in the past. And Denzel, it says he gets obsessed with this victim, but I think he more kind of falls in love with her.
Yeah.
In a weird way. I don't want to say too much because it spoiled the actual thrill of this, because like Frequency, this is another like crime thriller with a sci-fi twist thrown in,
Yeah.
as are all the three we're
I was
discussing
going to
today.
say, that's the theme of these three, I feel.
And
They
I
solve
think that's
crime
quite-
through
yeah.
time tech.
Yeah, this has always been one of my favourite sort of like sci-fi thrillers since watching it. There's a lot of good stuff in here, like just from the cast, how they interact. I feel the time stuff is more believable than it was in Frequency in this.
Yeah.
To a point. They can like zoom in through walls and it's like, oh yeah, we're using like radio frequencies to build up, and it's like you've almost got a stacked image.
Yeah.
It does get revealed something about wormholes, and you get that classic, here's a folding paper and here's a pen thing.
Yeah.
I think that's quite funny.
I will say the writers didn't think Tony Scott did a good job with it. Apparently he got too focused on the action element, and apparently that to them created a few plot holes.
Okay.
But I'm not entirely sure what the plot holes were. No,
I was going to ask you to share what the plot holes are.
I think it ruins the ending if I went into it. But Tony Scott admitted himself that he thinks he could have done a better job, but thinks the production schedule was too short, which I...
Yeah, 19-week production schedule. Yeah, it doesn't say in what I just read what the plot holes are.
I did look at it up, but I felt it spotted the film.
To go into the 19-week production schedule that this had, that could have been cut short, because I don't know if you read, they actually filmed this in New Orleans, and it was set for production in New Orleans, and I think they were about a week or two from filming, and then Hurricane Katrina happened.
Yeah.
And it started, then they had to scout to find other places, and they were even talking about not going through with the film and just outright cancelling it, and then they managed to go back to New Orleans to film.
Yeah.
And then there is a tribute in the end credits, actually, that pays for their bravery, the relief teams and whatnot in Hurricane Katrina.
If I'm right, they hired some local people to help on the film as well.
Right, okay.
To give them jobs and stuff, because some of them had...
Yeah.
But it was oddly originally set in New York, so I don't know why they got so focused on it being in New Orleans.
There's a lot of films in New York.
Yeah, maybe.
Not that many big budget ones in New Orleans. So it adds a different twist to it. And New York would make more sense with the 3D imagery of sound, I guess.
Yeah.
More buildings to echolocate through and whatnot. Apparently this was one of the most expensive script purchases of all time, though, it cost him $4.5 million.
Yeah. The ferry explosion was one of the biggest stunts filmed in New Orleans. Well, it was the biggest stunt filmed in New Orleans. I don't know.
It still is.
Don't know what it must be now. Then.
One thing I do like about the trivia for this film, I don't know if you've seen it, but Tony Scott and Val Kilmer had T-shirts made for the crew that said Malcolm X, Jesus Christ, and Jim Morrison, Deja Vu, How Can We Fail?
Yeah.
Because Denzel Washington played Malcolm X in a 90s film, Malcolm X. Caviezel played Jesus Christ in Mel Gibson's Passion of the Christ.
Yeah.
And Val Kilmer played Jim Morrison in The Doors from the 90s as well. Oliver Stone, I think, directed The Doors, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. I give it in better if Val Kilmer's thing was Batman, personally, but...
I'm not sure who directed Malcolm X. I think the thing is that these are all real-life people that made a change.
Yeah.
I say real-life.
Dubious of Jim Morrison?
Yeah, I don't believe he broke bread. Yeah, Malcolm X was Spike Lee. I think he was a big director.
Yeah. Plus it's Denzel. I know they collaborated quite a few times.
Yeah, they have. Yeah. He Got Game, I think, is Spike Lee and Denzel as well. I think this is a great film. Again, if you enjoy thrillers, even spy thrillers, I think, because of this terrorist plot angle, the ferry bombing and stuff. And the pace, I think, just builds really well.
Yeah. I agree. I think if you like thrillers and, like I said, probably spy thrillers, this is probably a good one for you. If you're not keen on the sci-fi, just take note that 40 minutes of this film is just talking technicians who just waffle on about the sci-fi stuff.
That's not selling anybody on the film. Is it really, though? 40 minutes of it is just technicians talking sci-fi stuff?
Yeah.
Wow.
They have 40 minutes of explaining what the plot is, what they're doing.
But that was the classic, here's a piece of paper and here's a pen going through, and that's how wormholes work.
Yeah.
Remember when Michael Keaton explained it with spaghetti in the Flash movie?
Yeah. Val Kilmer should have done that in this.
Shall we move to the next film? Or is there anything more you want to say about this?
Nah.
I highly
It's a good
recommend
film.
this one. This is my favourite out of the three.
I know it is. You kept telling me. Even while we're watching Frequency, you were like, I think Deja Vu is better than this.
I'm sorry, but it's true. If you don't agree with me, or you do agree with me, just get in touch with us and let me know. I'm really curious if any listeners will get in touch and let me know, or let us know, should I say, if you think this is best, or one of the other two are the best out of this episode.
Source code, 2011.
Okay, wow, that was a jump, wasn't it?
Time jump.
Editing gag.
I am the editor.
Who bombed the train?
I don't know who bombed the train.
Then try again.
Wait, no.
So, what do you think?
It's the same train, but it's different.
Source code, 2011 is directed by Duncan Jones, who did Moon, most people know him for, Mute, which I believe is on Netflix. And I'm really hoping he does the Rogue Trooper movie, because that's still on his IMDb. It's written by Ben Ripley, who did my personal favourite of the quadrilogy Species 3 and Species The Awakening.
Ugh.
And he did the Flatliners remake. So he
This might be one good movie.
I'm sticking with Species 3.
If it's Species 1 or 2, yeah, they're good movies. I mean, Species 3 isn't really bad.
Not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Source Code, which is a soldier wakes up in someone else's body and discovers he's part of an experimental government program to find the bomber of a commuter train within 8 minutes. It stars Jake Gyllenhaal.
Sorry, I'm just checking something.
It stars Jake Gyllenhaal as Colter Stevens, Michelle Monaghan as Christina Warren.
This movie's an hour 33.
Yeah.
Spoilers, he's not solving it in 8 minutes.
No,
You said he had to solve it in 8 minutes. Sorry, carry on.
I was halfway through the cast.
Yeah, maybe start again.
Jake Gyllenhaal is Colter Stevens. Michelle Monaghan is Christina Warren. Rhea Farmiga is Colleen Goodwin. And Jeffrey Wright is Dr. Rutledge.
I've got Michael Harder as Derek.
Incredible.
I don't know who Derek was, but I've written that down.
He was
And I
in
also
it.
wrote a cameo of Scott Bakula.
Incredible. Most people know Scott Bakula from Quantum Leap.
They'd probably know him from Star Trek Enterprise as well.
Yeah.
Or the,
NCIS New Orleans.
yeah, but New Orleans again.
Speaking of which, this movie was originally set in New York as well, which means Frequency was the only one actually in New York, and the other two were supposed to be in New York.
Yeah.
Just thought I'd throw that out there. Gyllenhaal pulling rank on this film, wasn't he? Well, he was signed to it before Duncan Jones, because he got Duncan Jones on this film.
Yeah,
After he
because he liked Moon.
Yeah, he was like, I like Moon, I want this guy.
Sadly, it's still on Earth.
Yeah,
I remember enjoying it in the cinema, but
you
I
did
think
enjoy
I
it.
prefer the other two to this.
Yeah,
But I think it's because I've seen what this essentially is before, because it's a time loop movie.
yeah.
So it's a little bit of a time loop movie crossed with Quantum Leap, and I'd rather watch some Quantum Leap. Not that this is bad. It's still a great film.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think on a first watch, it is quite interesting. You go, like, what's
Well, I
got to do?
I think when we
how
watched
big-
it, I didn't know much about it.
No. And it is quite a pleasant surprise when you
Yeah.
sort of think. It's not a terrible film by any means.
I don't want to give away some of the plot twist in this one, so I don't know really what much to say, because obviously It's him in another person's body somehow on a train with 8 minutes before the train blows up, and every time he fails, he has to relive it and figure out who the terrorist is.
Yeah.
But like I said, I really don't want to spoil it. Oh, I just realised, because I was just about to point a similarity out. It's got a lot of similar detail to Deja Vu, because before the actual initial explosion happens, it lets you see a load of little significant details. Yeah, I remember it when it replays later, and Deja Vu did a bit of that at the very opening. This is also public transport like Deja Vu was in the post 9/11, so it's a little expected to be in the anxieties and the zeitgeist at the time. But it led me to remember something I never mentioned while we were talking about Deja Vu. The Professor Brian Greene, who did the consultancy for Frequency, was the consultant on Deja Vu as well. I do like Jake Gyllenhaal in this film, though. I don't think it's his best performance he's given.
It's not his worst.
From what I've seen of it, I don't think he does a worst performance. Like, he's always good. Probably always better than good. He's always just above average, I would say.
He was terrible in the Spider-Man movie.
He was never in a Spider-Man movie.
Okay, you can forget about it.
Forget about what? I'm confused.
Jake Gyllenhaal in Spider-Man movie.
What Spider-Man movie?
Exactly. You can stay in your timeline. You're all right where you are.
Is this a joke about him supposed to have been Spider-Man in Spider-Man 2 because of Tobey Maguire's back trouble? And then like a strange reference to Black Brothers movie where him and Tobey Maguire played like brothers that looked almost identical in that film.
I genuinely do not know if you've forgotten Jake Gyllenhaal was in a Spider-Man movie.
I should have done what Spider-Man movie you think he was in.
So I'll just let you live in your little timeline of wherever you came from, and I'll live in one that had a terrible Spider-Man movie.
There's a terrible Spider-Man movie.
There's quite a few of them. I'll let you stay in your timeline. I don't want you been corrupted by whatever happened here. Are we on like the frequency that Jim Caviezel's always on?
No, I'm from 2024.
I'm just going to move on from there. I'm going to say that this was on the 2007 blacklist of most liked movie scripts that were unmade.
Okay.
Which I thought was pretty good. Don't really know what makes it a blacklist. For the fact they're just like, this movie's not good enough this year, and then they go, hang on, this movie was good, let's pull it out and release it soon. I don't really know where they get the thinking on that from, to be honest.
No, I don't. There's a couple of things I do like about this, though. When Vera Farmiga got signed on, she was pregnant, and she knew she was going to be quite heavily pregnant at the time, so she only had 10 days to film all her scenes.
Yeah.
And Jake Gyllenhaal doesn't share any scenes with Vera Farmiga or Jeffrey Wright, but he actually stayed back after filming his scenes to provide voice work for him to bounce off properly.
Yeah, I thought it was very nice of him.
And my favourite is that Christina's ex-boyfriend, he keeps ringing her. That's Michelle Monaghan's character. Yeah. He rings her on the phone and it comes up as Brian and it's spelt with a Y like my name, which is also really cool. But what makes it cooler is the face that you see in the caller ID is Duncan Jones.
Yeah.
So it's just ready to get a Brian with a Y.
Yeah. That way I had to bring it up.
I did,
yeah. Topher Grace was originally considered for the lead part of Colter Stevens.
Oh, I kind of wish it was him now. He was in a good Spider-Man movie.
He was in an okay Spider-Man movie, yeah.
I mean, it's better than the one that you're making up.
Yes, it's better than what I'm making up that you clearly now remember. With you.
I just don't ever remember Jake Gyllenhaal being Spider-Man.
He wasn't Spider-Man, he was in a Spider-Man movie.
Is he one of the voices in Spider-Verse?
No.
I give up.
So do I. I told you, I'm moving on. I'm not here to talk about Spider-Man.
Can we do an episode about this Spider-Man film that only you seem to remember?
No, I don't want to. It's awful.
Is it like an unmade script? Because I've listened to a few podcasts about unmade Spider-Man films and I don't remember his name being on any of them.
Just shut up.
Did you try a joke and it's failed?
No, you did.
I'm not even joking.
We're not here to talk about Spider-Man.
According to you, we are. You mentioned it.
I've moved on.
Okay.
Now, please, you do too.
I'm just curious. I'm going to have to look up Jake Gyllenhaal and Spider-Man.
I just want to mention a good film now, because Michelle Monaghan only got she didn't only get it, but the reason why Duncan Jones wanted her in this movie is because she did Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, which is a great film. So
I love
why.
Kiss Bang Bang.
And that had Val Kilmer in it, so I just had to bring that.
And it had Downey Jr. in it.
Yeah.
Had Batman and Sherlock Holmes in the same movie.
Yeah, all right. And they wanted to do a TV series of this. That was been talked about since it was released, wasn't it? And then eventually they just went like, screw that, we'll just do Quantum Leap. And they brought Quantum Leap back instead.
Oh, he was Mysterio in Far From Home.
Jake Gyllenhaal was Mysterio in Far From Home. He's just had to look that up.
Forgot that movie existed.
Clearly. I was actually hoping I was talking to a Brian from a different timeline, because that would have been amazing on this podcast. But no, I feel you ruined it for everyone just by having poor memory.
Take the bit out and I'm still someone from another timeline.
Nah.
Did you just say Lindsay Lohan was originally cast as Christina?
Now I do feel like you're from a different timeline. I never mentioned that at all. I didn't even know that was... Is that a thing?
Yeah. She was originally in the role, and producers decided to recast the role because of legal issues and conflicting with filming schedules and stuff.
Right. Sounds about right. Is there anything else you want to add about this film?
Apparently Duncan Jones had an earpiece in Jake Gyllenhaal's ear and would play music or static buzzing noises to make him look confused,
To be fair...
disorientated and stuff, yeah.
Yeah. To be fair, if I was Duncan Jones, I'd just play this podcast to him. And it'd just be like, what Spider-Man movie was that in?
Because he wasn't in it yet.
I know.
Did we mention that in Frequency? It was to do with the Aurora Borealis.
No, we didn't.
Create the time thing.
But we should have.
Because I don't believe New York can witness the Aurora Borealis.
No, they can't. I looked that up and I thought, this one's the only one that's set in New York, and I think it should have been set somewhere else.
Probably in the northern hemisphere where you see the northern lights, the Aurora Borealis.
I'm right. I think you can see it in Australia as well.
That might be something else. There's something similar to the northern lights with a different name.
Yeah.
It's the Aurora Borealis and something else. That's very similar, but it's because...
Australia.
Side, I think.
Southern Lights is the Australians. Yeah. So to get that sort of effect, it'd have to be like either in the southern or northern hemisphere, like you said.
But I could have made it in Adelaide. This is Frequency in Adelaide. We're looking at the southern lights. Cool, blimey.
No.
I tried.
I wish you hadn't.
I mean, it's not really a problem, but it just bothers me a little. It's the fact that Jeffrey Wright is called Dr. Rutledge.
Yeah.
Rutledge are book publishers that normally, well, I think they predominantly cover academic texts.
Yeah.
So it just bothers me that they're like, hey, we'll make this guy smart, and we'll know he's smart because he shares a name with a book publisher that produces smart material.
Jeffrey Wright actually has my favourite performance in this film.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's not as good as his Jim Gordon in The Batman.
Well,
Or his performance in Westworld.
I'm just saying he had the best performance in this film.
I think it was Derek.
Clearly, you noted him down.
I know, I don't remember who he is in the film. Is he a comedian? I believe he's a comedian in this, but it turns out within the context of the film, the guy is also a comedian. So he's like, oh, if you're so funny, why I'd bet you to do a stand-up routine over there for an hour or something to make him laugh.
Yeah, if I'm right, they had to cut quite a lot of his material out because what he wrote weren't suitable for like a 12.
I don't think it was suitable to call comedy.
No, not what we hear in the film anyway.
It was pretty dire.
Yeah, you want to hire
People could see what his comedy's normally like, because it has to be better than that. I reckon just an average guy off the street could do better than what you see in that film from him. Anything else?
Again, I think it's just another one of them. If you like your thrillers or you like sci-fi and sci-fi thrillers, these are the films for you.
Yeah. Which I'm curious, which out of these three would you say, oh, you're not too fond on sci-fi, have you tried, and then you hand them one of these, which would you pass them?
I'd probably go with Frequency.
Yeah, I would go with Deja Vu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The safer bet.
Denzel in it. People love Denzel. And I had a good time watching Frequency.
Like I said, Frequency for me, when watching these, it was probably my favourite one, but I think it's because it was the first time me watching it and seeing it all unfold.
Yeah.
Deja Vu, I enjoy it, but I don't really enjoy it as much as you, clearly. And Source Code, I think I've seen 3 times. And
I think that was my second or third time watching it.
I'm not sure.
But I'd rather watch another time loop movie than this, which I think we'll be discussing next week.
Yeah.
And in terms of like a guy taking the place of somebody else to try and solve the problem, I'd rather watch Quantum Leap. I don't know if that's a nostalgia thing or not, though, because I grew up watching Quantum Leap. Frequency is definitely the one I would say try out of these 3.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all worth a watch, for sure. I don't think any of them are a bad egg.
No.
I definitely have my favourite, and it's Frequency. But again, that's also the only one. No, I was going to say it's the only one I saw.
Deja Vu.
I saw Source Code in cinema.
Yeah. Deja Vu was your favourite, wasn't it?
Yeah. Why? What did I say?
Frequency.
Oh, dear God. I'm tired, man.
I thought you were just telling the truth for once.
No, it's Deja Vu.
Frequency. You were about to say it.
It's Deja Vu.
You sure?
Yes.
Your favourite one is...
And on Heart, it's free. It's oh god, it's Deja Vu.
It's Frequency.
I did have a great time with Frequency, but Deja Vu is the one I would say to check out.
But not Source Code.
It really depends what you want to see as well, doesn't it? Like Source Code's good if you want like this.
I'll
Source
say
Code's got a faster pace to it, hasn't it?
I'll
But
say
it's
if you
also
haven't
the
got-
shorter one.
I was gonna say if you haven't got 2 hours and you've only got an hour and a half, just watch Source Code.
And missed the last 3 minutes.
Why is it 93 minutes?
Yeah, still good. You reminded me about bloody Far From Home.
I'm good. You're not from another timeline.
Me too. I'd love being in a timeline where that film doesn't exist.
I was hoping I was on a podcast with another Brian.
I'm the ex-boyfriend from the movie.
Duncan Jones. It's you.
No, it just had my face. I mean, I had his face. I don't know what I mean. We should wrap this up.
I don't even know if you're Brian anymore. Which was your favourite again? Frequency.
Deja Vu.
I'm having Deja Vu.
Why, which was your favourite?
Source Code. No, it's Frequency. We clearly haven't got what else to say about these, but they're all good sci-fi thrillers, and that's enough for me. So that's the end of the show. Thank you for joining us this week, and if you haven't, give us a like and a subscribe. A glowing review would also be appreciated. We are at cynic_critique on X and Instagram. Links to those and more can be found in our description below. And remember to join us next week as we unearth more gems from cinema's depths as we discuss more post-2000s sci-fi with Donnie Darko, Butterfly Effect and Triangle. Thank you.
Goodbye.
It's a phenomenon known as deja vu.